Welcome to Construction Champions Podcast, where we are burning the house down and rebuilding it twice a week. I'm your host, Ron Nussbaum, and I am here to help you become the champion that you're meant to be. Along with our amazing guests along the way, we will provide you with the resources, the latest and greatest. You will sit down with disruptors in the construction industry. And my goal from day one has always been to change the mindset around the construction industry. No more where we let the 3%. Welcome back, Construction Champions, to another episode. I am your facilitator of these conversations, Ron Nussbaum, and I'm the founder and CEO of BuilderComs. And what do we do on here? We bring on experts, we bring on leaders, we bring on disruptors around the construction industry, and we talk about how you can become a champion at what you do every day, and we leave you with stuff that you can go take away and put into action today. And how do we do that? We do it with amazing guests. We don't just do it with Ron Nussbaum up here rambling, and today is no different. We have a fantastic guest with us. Gabe, it is great to have you here with us today.
Ron, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Awesome. Well, before we dive into it, why don't you introduce yourself to all the construction champions listening out there?
Sure. My name is Gabe Bustos, and I'm owner of a digital marketing agency for contractors called Hector Home Services Marketing. Been doing marketing for several years now. I've been a lifelong entrepreneur. And the way I got into this was I had three different, over the course of my life, I've started and run three different businesses, and they all suffered from the same problem, which was an inability to market ourselves properly, to find somebody we could trust to do marketing, to figure it out ourselves. And eventually, I said enough is enough. And that's why I decided to figure this out for myself. And now I'm able to share that with other people.
Awesome. I love it. There's nothing better than firsthand experience, getting in there and actually have been there to be able to help other people do it. So that excites me. Going to be an amazing episode. We're going to ask you the $1 million question, and that is, what makes a construction champion?
I love it. So again, for me and my journey and where I'm at right now, for me, what makes a construction champion is if you can have a predictable, scalable, and reliable lead flow, right? There's nothing that is worse than the roller coaster sales months where you don't know when things are coming in, when they're not. You get a big win one month and the next month it's crickets, right? You can't sleep at night. You can't make bets, predictable bets on the company, right? How to hire, how to deploy resources. And most importantly, I heard this on one of your recent episodes talking about building an asset of your company that works for you, not where you're just constantly in the weeds putting out fires. Is I think having a predictable, reliable, and scalable lead flow enables you to actually build something that you can either retire on or, exit one day, right? But that's a huge piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely. But you're saying some words that people might not 100% understand when you talk about predictable and reliable leads. And that in the construction industry sometimes can just kind of be like this fairy tale out there.
Absolutely. I get it. And, even for running a marketing agency, it's similar too. It's, we have a lot more success marketing our clients' companies than we do ourselves. It's a learning process for me too. So as confident as I feel about being able to get leads for local service businesses, I can also empathize with our listeners out there because it's genuinely hard and it takes, persistent, ongoing effort for years and years, especially because things keep changing.
Yeah, no, they're ever evolving. That's what always fascinates me about the conversations around marketing is there's so much that changes so often. But what are you finding out there working with the construction, the contractors, the construction businesses that they're having some success with?
Well, success, we specialize in local SEO. So that's getting your business to rank at the top of Google, but specifically in Google Maps is really where a lot of, customers go to find and vet local service businesses. This applies to construction and contractors just as much as it applies to any other local business, like a vet or a dentist, right? People usually search on Google. They scroll down to see the reviews. There's usually 3 results there. They'll call 2 or 3 of them. Whoever answers the phone first, gives them the best experience, right, is who they're going to continue the conversation with. So we really specialize, and I don't mean to talk about myself, more just our experience. We really specialize with companies who operate in small to mid-sized cities or suburbs of big metros because it's not quite as competitive, right? I'm sure many of your listeners and you yourself can relate in that, if you're in a big market like a roofing or an HVAC and you're in a big city, it's quite competitive. And given that there's limited real estate at the top of Google, and that applies to both ads and organic listings, it's a pay to play, it's very much a pay to play business, right? And if you're going up against big names that have hundreds or thousands of reviews and years of investing thousands of dollars a month into SEO, it's going to be hard to really compete with them in any kind of quick and meaningful way that you can get a good return. So then you get into paid ads, right? As I'm sure many of our listeners know, paid ads on Google can be very expensive as well, because it's pay to play and you're going up against the big dogs out there that have big budgets. It can be successful, but it's challenging. Google has a good ad product called local services ads that many of your listeners may be familiar with. That is very good usually it's good for like quick wins. When you start a new profile, Google generally shows new profiles up first as kind of a way to like get people into Google ecosystem and then spend more money on the more expensive stuff. But if there are listeners out there who have tried local service ads and it's no longer working, a good hack is just to start a new profile, and that will kind of jumpstart your profile and get you to the top. The last, and I'll stop here, but the last kind of domain of reliable, predictable marketing is meta ads. So that would be Facebook and Instagram. And these can be really good. They're more affordable than Google, a lot of Google ad products. The challenge is the lead quality is generally not as good. So it does put a little bit more on your sales team and your follow-up, communications and how organized your CRM is and all that to qualify those leads, because they're generally not as, close to purchasing and really hiring somebody as someone who finds you on Google. So my favorite quote in life is there's no shortcut to any place worth going. And unfortunately, that's true in marketing as well.
I love it. A no filter, no fluff approach that, this is not easy, but it's doable. We can get it there, but you have to be, it's just like anything we do. Like, you have to be willing to put in the work.
Totally. And to find your niche, to find your little corner of the internet, or the marketplace where you really can stand out a lot quicker, right? I'm sure you can relate in your business as well, right? When you find your niche, it makes it so you can really get to the top quicker, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I mean, that has to do with knowing your business and everything to be able to present it in a way that people want to do business with you. That's when you first started telling your story about how you had a hard time figuring all that out. And that's what led you to help other people do that. That, as easy as it is to say, like, we do remodels, to be able to convey that to a customer in a way that makes them call you, it's two completely different things.
Totally.
So where we have Google, which is ever changing, Meta, I just actually read today that Meta was testing no ad versions of like Facebook and stuff. Right? They weren't going to be. Is that a thing? Is that true, or was I reading something crazy?
Oh no, you're true. I mean, they're still running ads, but you're right. Where they're really trying to take their business is to make it so that, all you have to do is just upload some pictures and your credit card, and then they'll take care of it for you, right? And you and I were talking about this right before we hit record, but this is one of the many ways that AI is really changing digital marketing, right? Google, and I know some of your previous guests have talked about how it's rewiring Google and how that business model works. But in Meta, it's both an opportunity and a challenge, right? And the good thing is that it doesn't take nearly as much like a day-to-day management of meta ad campaigns and like really dialing in your targeting and a lot of technical. It doesn't take a lot of technical ability to be successful on meta anymore. What really does matter, and this is where AI can help, is if you feed Meta, you feed their business, their ad system more creative. So what do I mean by that? I mean more images, more videos, more ads, essentially. And then you let them do their thing with it, right? So they're going to do their thing regardless. If you can give them more basically firepower to do that with, and if in your creative, if in your videos you can really target like what you were saying, like we do bathroom remodels, we specifically do acrylic, tubs and showers, right? We specifically do 1 day bath, like if and then Meta's algorithm and their machine can take your creative and say, they know everything about everybody, unfortunately, but it's the reality, right? And then they'll take your creative and they'll take what you're feeding them and they'll do a pretty good job of getting it in front of the best people who want a 1 day bath that's acrylic and not a full gut job. You know what I mean? So it raises the bar a little bit, and the same thing is true in Google. It raises the bar that like you have to do more to basically succeed, but the AI tools give you the ability to do more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But because we pay based on clicks or leads generated. So it's in the best interest of Google and Meta to get it in front of the right people. So I can see where like you're talking about turn it over to them because they're probably sitting there like we could generate a lot more lead flow than what they're doing
Right.
with this crap they're putting out there. So they're trying to figure out how do they generate more revenue, and it's just by them feeding their machine to be able to
Exactly.
do it.
And it's impossible to tell where things will be in 2 years, let alone like 2 months. But the way things are going. But I'm a firm believer that like authenticity and quality will still provide an edge, right? So like even in 2 years from now, like if one person just like uploads a few pictures and their credit card and says, please make it work, and another person is getting in front of the camera and being authentic and really connecting with the customer and telling their messaging that really works for them and tells Meta and their audience who they're really looking to work with, like that's still going to perform better, right? So there still absolutely is like it's not a cause, it's a cause to keep up with the times, but it's not a cause to like jump ship or freak out or anything like that, because authentic, quality, highly targeted customer messaging is still always going to outperform somebody who just does the boilerplate default, tries to hack their way to success.
Well, yeah, I couldn't agree more with that, with the authentic piece and just when you can see it, like stuff starts to just blend together, like what that AI framework looks like, and anybody that's around it, everything. What's going to happen is everything's going to look the same. There's going to be no distinguishing features from any of this. And if you continue to remain authentic and to who you are as a company and don't let it take the entire reins, that is where you're going to start. You'll be different than everybody else out there.
Exactly. And then that's why we see, and this is in there's tons of data to support this, like, and everybody can empathize with this with their own experiences, like like much, it used to be that like a highly produced commercial would perform better, right? Because people are like, oh, these guys look professional, they must be legit. And now it's what's called UGC, or user generated content, right? Basically just jumping on a selfie, even in your car, right? Or on the job. And that's going to perform better because it feels authentic, right? And we're all starved for authenticity and being able to tell what's even real and what's not. So the good news is that like you don't need expensive cameras or a film crew or whatnot, right? To really stand out. You don't. You just need to be authentic, and you have to have your brand messaging and your target, your target audience really dialed in, right?
Yeah, I think we're going in the opposite direction of the highly,
Right.
like the just like all of that. Even with like the shorts and stuff, I think people want to see more stuff that I mean, Hormozy started doing it where it would just throw in some captions up here and it wasn't highly anything like his stuff's professionally shot now,
Oh,
but
oh,
like it's professionally shot to look like it's not.
totally. Exactly. I know it's funny. It's like like ripped jeans, the way you buy like pre-ripped jeans and stuff, similar.
Awesome, man. So what like it's back to the predictability, the reliable is what does that foundation look like?
Yeah,
Or
it's a
so
good
let's
question.
say, yeah, if somebody started working with you, what does that look like?
Oh, they don't even need to work with us, right? But like definitely, at least on Google, I'm more of an expert in Google than I am Meta. I mean, Meta again, the key to Meta success is to feed it with more and more authentic content, where the content itself is very specific as far as like who you're targeting and what makes you stand out and why you're trying to work with the person you're speaking to and whatnot. On Google, the biggest thing that people can do, and I'm sure you and your audience have heard this a million times, is Google reviews, right? That's like the one, well, there's really two foundational pieces. That's one that a business owner can control themselves, and we can talk about some, simple ways to increase Google reviews. The second would be to just complete your Google business profile, right? I mean, I know you laugh, but like there's so many people that, and I mean, not even people that I meet that didn't have an agency already. Like we come across people all the time that had an agency and they still did not complete their Google business profile, right? So like a lot of times we'll tell, in my content, I'll talk about how like SEO doesn't take 6 months. It can take a month. And what I'm really getting at is like a lot of times we meet people where they have all these other things doing right, but then they're missing the most basic low bearing fruit. We come in and tune that up and it shoots them to the top, right? But you don't even need an agency. Like completing your Google business profile is not that hard, right? Like, especially with the help of ChatGPT, if you just give, AI like some basic keywords, like your services in your locations, basically, and ask it to help you fill your Google business profile, you can do it in an hour, you know, 80% as well as any agency can, right? So getting reviews and completing your Google business profile, two really big things. The third thing that I'll say that's really within a business owner's control that is not doesn't take a lot of, well, let me rewind that. The third thing that's in a business owner's control is where your business is located, right? Now, obviously, most people are not in a position where they can move an office or things like that. But if you are currently working from home and you're considering getting an office, or if you currently have an office that you don't like and you're considering getting a new office, where your business is located is a big factor that Google uses to show you higher or lower, given how close it is to your searchers, right? So I'm in Baltimore, Maryland. If your business is in Baltimore, Maryland, you're going to show up higher for people searching for a kitchen remodel or a new roof in Baltimore than you would be if your office is located, 20 miles outside of Baltimore.
Hmm. That
So
that's fantastic. I don't think we've ever really discussed that on here.
right.
Because like people have like they work in a major city, but their office is outside of that major city.
Yep. Yep.
And that seems like be very important when you're making these decisions.
For sure, for sure. I'll just add one more piece in there. It's a question we get a lot is like, can you use a virtual address? And unfortunately for Google's like policies as far as their Google business profile goes, which is really what, again, where Google Maps SEO is taking place, is you can't use it. You can't use a virtual address, right? You don't have to have like you don't have to be at your office 5 days a week, but it has to be a real office with signage and a desk. Like usually when you're getting it verified, they ask you to film a quick video where you're like, this is me, this is my office, this is my desk, this is my signage, you know what I mean? And then like it's important to be there like a couple days, a day or two a week. Like you don't have to be there that often, but it does have to be a real office. It can't just be like a PO box or a designated desk at like a co-working space.
So you just can't go get a bunch of PO boxes and make a bunch of
No,
fire.
unfortunately not. But depending on where you are, like it's funny, I find myself like doing real estate searches for people like more often than not because I'm like, you got to get a better location. And I'm like, I'm doing searches and I'm like, okay, like here's one for $600 a month. So like again, it's not nothing, but for depending on where you are, right, for between 600 and $1,000 a month, like you can cross this threshold and that can go a huge way for getting you that predictable, reliable lead flow.
Yeah, that's when me and my wife owned our cleaning company, and we were in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area, but we lived outside of Grand Rapids, Michigan. But
Yeah.
we had an office about dead center
That's even better.
where our services were at, and I had done it for convenience of operations. I never even thought about it from the perspective of what that did on Google, and our ideal customers were searching for us as we were right in the epicenter of where they live. And what made it even better is like the high end neighborhoods around Grand Rapids, and that's who we tried to service. We were on that side of Grand Rapids. We weren't on the other side of it. And like I said, that was purely operational is why I made that decision. But it sounds like it has other effects as well.
Absolutely. And you hit on a good point that, was even better fortune for you is that so when it comes to proximity of your address, a big part is proximity to the searcher, right? So like how close is the person searching to you? But then another big piece is how close are you to the city center of where they're searching? So if somebody is searching for, cleaning company in Grand Rapids and your business is located right in the city center, those are even extra bonus points as far as that proximity component goes. So that's great. And I'll say, this is it can also be a challenge for people because not just because city centers are expensive, but we come across this a lot where somebody's business address, like they want to target higher income zip codes, right? But their business address is not near those higher income zip codes, in which case SEO, like with SEO, with local SEO, you can kind of push like 10 to 15 miles out in terms of like how, depending on how densely populated and competitive it is, right? The more competitive it is, the harder it's going to be to get a wider reach where you're ranking at the top. But I come across this a lot where people are like, well, here's my business address and it's convenient from where I live, but we're actually trying to reach zip codes that are not around here because they're higher income. And in that case, we say more often that like, okay, well, you're probably going to have to do paid ads because when you're running paid ads, whether it's on Google or Meta, you can choose. I just want to show my ads here, right? I just want to show my ads here. But with SEO, with local SEO, because it's so focused around where your business is located, it's one of the drawbacks where if you're trying to get leads, 15 miles away from where your business is, SEO is not going to be your best choice because that's not how it's designed.
Yeah, you read my mind because that was going to be my next question is like, what's the radius look like? And so with that being said can you have like when the construction business, like we were located in one major city, but we served the entire state.
Yeah.
And we ended up putting another area in another city and then another one in another. Once again, purely operation. It only made sense for us. Like, so everything I'm talking about was just like stumbled into because we were trying to operate effectively and figure out how this worked best for our employees and our customers. And serving an entire state from one location becomes very challenging. But so does that do those become separate Google profiles then,
They
or
do.
how does
Yes.
that work?
You're exactly right. So if you want to, through organic, if you want to reach, by organic, I mean not paid traffic, right? Um, if you want to reach a broader area, you have to open up a new Google business profile. And in order to do that, you have to have a new office, right? So at the time, you had a different office in each location?
Yes, yeah, like
Yeah,
we've
exactly.
had the real estate and created offices.
So you'll see that a lot. Like, sometimes, especially in the earlier days, I was driving around, just trying to introduce myself to businesses. And all the time I would come up, you look at an address on Google and you show up and it's a real office. Their sign is there, but nobody's there. You know what I mean? And it's like on the third floor of some random office building where clearly like nobody's actually going to be there very often. That is a perfect case of like they just got that office to get an extra Google business profile, which then gives them another like hotspot for where they could draw in organic leads based on that address.
Hmm. Yeah, we operationally ran out of all of them. Like I said, it stumbled into it, what you're
Yep.
talking about, just off of trying to be operationally efficient. With that, so we've talked about organic and paid. So does having a good organic base help with paid, or is paid pretty much you get what you're paying for?
That's a good question. Yes, they all overlap and help each other, right? What I would call a good organic base is having, well, for like I said, first and foremost, having good reviews, right? So if you're, and this is a quick thing, like if you're opening up another Google business profile, you have to get new reviews for that location separately. Okay. So it's a plus and a minus. It's a extra barrier to jump, but it also makes it so that like your competition, like if you do the work and you get those reviews for a second location, and your competition, it's not as easy for your competition to do that, right? Um, but so yeah, if you've got good reviews, which is in my opinion, the foundation of all online marketing, and you're running Facebook ads or Google ads, people are going to check your reviews, and that's a huge piece of it, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Let's dive into that. You had teased a little
oh
bit
yes,
that you teased, and I went off on a tangent somewhere
oh
else.
yes.
And you're gonna help people get better review or get more reviews.
For sure, for sure. Well, again, not too many shortcuts, right, to any place worth going, which this is really the crown jewel of online marketing is having good reviews. Is if you're in a higher volume niche like pest control or HVAC, where you're doing a lot of, small, like, I mean, obviously some of those jobs are big too, but you're doing a high volume of visits, right? Then you can lean more on automations like sending, like an automated SMS when the job is done. Like that's obviously a really big um, thing that I would recommend for sure. So you can lean more on that. But like, for example, we work with a lot of remodelers where they're only doing, 2, 3 kitchens a month, and that's all they need to do. And you're not going to like get a bunch of reviews by sending out automated text messages to the 2 or 3 people that you like that are inviting you to their Christmas dinner because you're so intimately,
Yeah.
connected to them, right? So for more of those trades, it's really like up to the business owner, right? Or I don't want to say up to the business owner, but whoever the person is that has that relationship with that customer as the job is closing out, right? Asking them in person. And the same thing is true with high volume, like pest control, for example. Like, no doubt the best place to get the review is in person when the tech is there, right? And then you can follow up if they don't get it. But that's definitely the best way to do it. And one thing, the last thing I'll say that we always recommend, and you might be able to speak to this even better than me, given your experience, but is before you ask for a review, is to basically prime them and say like, are you satisfied with my level of service here today? And if not, is there anything else that I could do that would leave you feeling like this has been an excellent service, right?
Mm.
And you give them that opportunity to say, oh, well, actually, like, this could have been better, or you were awesome, thank you. And then you can ask for that review, but you've already kind of set the stage for it. And you know what I mean? So we find that really helps a lot, is to kind of prime them first and give them the opportunity to essentially say no before you even ask.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's something that should be trained on as well, just like
Exactly.
anything that you do. Training and expectations is what really matters. So if you
Yeah.
train and expect people to ask, the more reps they put in, the easier it comes across when they ask for that review. And
Exactly.
I would say having an easy way for them to do it
Yeah.
right there. We used to have guys we had a pre-made a link that
Yeah. Yeah. Like a QR.
Orkin would send that would allow them they would get it on their phone right in front of them,
Yeah.
but it would allow them to go to anywhere and it would go directly to our page to be able to leave a review. So
Exactly.
like there was no searching, we made it as easy as it was
Yeah.
to leave us a review anywhere.
Exactly. And you're right about the training piece. And the other thing, you can't technically pay for reviews. You can't like tell somebody like, I'll give you $50 if you leave me a review. Now, of course, under the table, right? But like, I'm not recommending that even under the table. Like, you don't need to do that if you run a good business and your team is trained, right? Um, what I would say is, oh, I just forgot what I was going to say. Shoot, I lost it. Uh,
Oh, good.
um,
The thought will come back.
it'll come back. Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, no, it's like you see stuff like I agree 100% that you do not need to pay people for reviews because people want to talk about
exactly.
great
Yeah,
experiences.
exactly. I just remembered. So thank you for holding that for a moment. That you can absolutely pay your team, right? You can incentivize your team. And we see this a lot when people have, they either run competitions, whoever gets the most reviews in a month gets a day off or whatever it is. Or some people will say, we'll give you $50 for every review that you get, so long as the review enters or says your name, right? Um, I think that, it's hard to put a dollar amount on reviews because again, if you're a remodeler, you might only need to get 30 to beat your competition. If you're an HVAC, you might need to get 1,000, or 300. So it's hard to say, but reviews are extremely valuable, and I would not be stingy about incentivizing your team, especially if with your team it's a win-win. You give them something to work towards and feel happy about. I would not be stingy about collecting reviews because it's hard to overstate how valuable they are, not just for the algorithms, but for the customer, you know, journey.
Mm. You referenced it a couple of times being like where other people are at and being able to compete. So I take it
Yes.
want to look at whoever the big dog is from reviews and get more than them. Is that like
Yes.
you want to have the most?
There you go. You definitely want to analyze, and this is why we try to be selective about who we work with because, and I think everybody should be, because like, if somebody is way behind, we're not going to say like, I'm not going to say like, oh yeah, this is going to work for you because in reality, like it's going to take a lot before it works, right? But you don't need to be like the number one. But if you look at the top three when you do a Google search, there's always three there. You only have to be in the top three, right? Because again, like I said, generally people will call two or three companies that are right there in the top three and then go on who they get the best experience with. So you don't need to be the top. I would say look at the top three, run a few searches, bathroom remodeling in Grand Rapids, kitchen remodeling in Grand Rapids, home remodeling in Grand Rapids. See who's in the top three. And generally there's one straggler, and then like that's your target. You wanna get more than them. And it's not just not just volume, right? Like the rating matters too. Right, of course.
Awesome. So figure out who that straggler is and then go
Exactly.
after them.
I was just right before I jumped on this was analyzing a prospect who's thinking about working with us, and there were two top dogs where it was like you're not going to catch them in terms of reviews and some of the other pieces, at least not within any less than 6 months. um but there was one straggler, and it was like that's like the weak link. That's who we're going after, you know what I mean?
And then you're immediately like, and it's all brand position too,
Yeah.
because you immediately position yourself with the who are looked at as being the big
Exactly.
dogs in your area.
Exactly. I was just about to say that as well. That's really valuable. And a lot of times people, you know this as well, better than me probably, but it's like people know the big names. They know the Brothers Services and they know the Window Nation and they know the Thompson Creek, right? And they're like, I don't want to work with some big corporation. You know what I mean? But like,
I 100% know what you mean. And then it's like, so you by default become the hometown hero
exactly.
that is right there with them. So they're like, all right, well, these are like these big whatevers I know, but like this guy is here and he's right in their mind. You're at the exact same place as they are.
And you're the hometown hero that treats them like a family and not a number, you
Yeah.
know. So
That's awesome, man. That I think that is something for people to really look into and think about, how do I become that? Because a lot of our listeners, all those hometown heroes that are out there, they're getting it done, and you want to be able to take this on and position yourself, but not lose that at the same time.
absolutely. And that's been one thing that I've kind of been continue to be pleasantly surprised about is like for a lot of smaller size cities and or suburbs, again, some niches are definitely more competitive than others, right? Like I'm not going to lie and say like if you're a roofer, like it's going to be easy because there's a lot of money that goes into roofing marketing. But for many things, right? Like it's really not as like what I'm trying to say is that there's a big difference. Some markets and locations are going to be very competitive, and some ones are like surprisingly not competitive at all. Where like you really like remodelers, for example, like if you can get 20 to 30 reviews, which most people can do just from their friends and family, you know what I mean? All of a sudden you're there at the top, right? And so what I mean to say is that I've been pleasantly surprised to see how many opportunities there are in different locations, because in some areas it's super competitive and in some areas it's surprisingly not competitive at all, and everywhere in between.
I love it, man. This has been a fantastic conversation today. For all of our listeners, if they wanted to connect with you, learn more about what you do, where's the best places for them to do that?
For sure. So our website is called Hector, like the name Hector, Home Services Marketing. So Hector Home Services Marketing.com. What we do is we offer to film a custom video where I analyze exactly where your business is now and where your competition is. And I'll give you just a transparent, honest analysis to say, like, you guys are here, your competition is not that much farther ahead of you, or your competition is really far ahead of you, or your business address is not in a good location, or whatever it is, right? And say, like, here's how far away you are from the top, and here's how long I think it could take for you to really get there, and what you would need to do in order to do that. And we don't make anybody jump on a call. Like everybody hates sales calls and all that stuff, right? So like I'm just like, if you're curious, we'll film a video kind of breaking this down for you completely for free, just for you, and then leave it there, unless you want to go farther.
I love it complete. So you do like a complete, an analysis and put that stuff together for free.
Yeah, for each individual person. I mean, that's what we do now and for the foreseeable future. Maybe we'll outgrow that one day, but right now we try to be that hometown hero and, really just give people the attention to detail they deserve. There's so many, I'm not trying to bad talk people in my industry, but you know how it is. There's so many.
The marketing industry and the construction world is a very predatory space.
And there's so many people that just treat you like a number, everybody out there knows what that's like. So
Absolutely. Well, Gabe, thank you for taking the time and being on the show today.
thanks so much, Ron. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, construction champions, another episode in the bag where don't plan on I got lucky because I was thinking operationally when it came to marketing and Google, but you can't don't leave this up to luck. Like there's a lot more planning that has to go into it that I think we really think about it. And especially how many of you are out there thinking about you need a bigger shop or it's time to move and you're not necessarily thinking about the implications that this could have on your Google account and what that would look like. I mean, to me, that was like mind blowing when you start to think about that, because people move and change shops all the time. And are we really thinking about this strategically? Like, if we're going to go through that, why don't we, be a little bit more strategic? If maybe if we're over here a little bit more, it would bump us up a little bit, or it would get us in front of our ideal customers a little bit better. To me, this has just been an episode full of just the ways to be able to think differently about this, and stuff that transpires outside into other areas of our business that we typically don't think about when we think about marketing, but they have an effect on who sees us and what that looks like. So I would tell everybody to go get their free analysis from Gabe. I mean, that sounds like an amazing resource that he just offered up here for everybody listening. So, construction champions, until next time, be the champion you're meant to be.